Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I want to cover some information that we got from this interview that was done with Victor Yoshida and Toyotaro. Toyotaro, in case you don't know who it is, well, he's the one who basically is writing and drawing the Dragon Ball Super manga. Now, the official interview you can find, actually, hold on, I forgot to open this link before I started recording this video, but yeah, you can find it here in the official Dragon Ball Super website. You can find it right there. You can go watch it, the whole thing. But we're just going to be going through the highlights, and we, of course, have to thank Herms for highlighting some of the, I guess you could say, the more interesting stuff from the actual interview in itself. Now, there is a part two to the interview, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let's go through the highlights of the interview because we did get some very, very interesting information. Now, they gave us some of the behind the scenes, or I guess you could say a little bit of a behind the scenes look into the making of the current arc in the Dragon Ball Super manga, the Granolah, the Survivor arc. So let's start right here. So the Dragon Ball official site has a new Toyotaro video interview up explaining the creation of the Granolah arc. Granolah himself was actually Toyotaro's idea, while Toriyama added the heaters and the Namekian or the new Dragon Ball stuff, all the new Dragon Ball stuff. So if you don't know what he means, now I already watched the interview beforehand, so basically he reveals that the idea, the overall idea for the Granolah arc, and especially the character himself, was actually from Toyotaro. And he, of course, presented it to Toriyama. Now, I think a lot of people already know how this works, is Toyotaro, of course, has the idea for the story. They present it to Toriyama, and Toriyama is the one who gives them the go-ahead. You know, the same thing with mostly with Toyotaro, because we only have the manga right now. We don't have the anime. It used to be with, the anime and the manga. Of course, Toriyama would give them the outline for the story, and it would be Toyotaro's idea to write it into the manga or adapt it into a manga, and then the anime studio would adapt it into an anime arc. However, just like it seems like with the Moro arc, the Granolah arc actually came from Toyotaro, not from Toriyama. Toyotaro is the one who came up with the idea for the story, gave it to Toriyama, and Toriyama gave him basically the green light to go ahead. While it seems like he actually added and refined some things when it comes to the story, and we'll get to those. So the character himself, again, let's just clear this up. The character himself in the arc was Granolah was from Toyotaro, and Toriyama did add some things to it. For example, the heaters. The concept of the heaters, the characters actually came from Toriyama, so that did not come from Toyotaro. So originally Toyotaro did not have the heaters involved. That was added in by Toriyama. And then, of course, you have the old Namekian, which is Monaito, who basically is being cared for by Granolah. And then, of course, you have the Cerealian Dragon Balls. That was actually from Toriyama. Okay, so just to clear that up. So let's move on forward. And then the character of Oatmeal, he apparently goes on to state that he or she, we don't know, is going to play a bigger role in the future. So if there's anyone out there who was wondering if Oatmeal was actually going to play a part in the story, it seems like they did confirm, yes, Oatmeal will have a big role in the story, confirmed by Toyotaro in this interview. Now, of course, they didn't go into what that actually is because, spoilers. So, and they go on to talk about how the inspiration for Oatmeal is because, they wanted to have sort of a duo, kind of like we've had duos before. You had Supreme Kai and Kibito in the Buu arc, and then when at the beginning, I guess you could say, of Dragon Ball Super or in Battle of Gods, you had Beerus and Whis. Usually, you usually see these duos introduced, and that was the inspiration for Granolah or Oatmeal. And also because they thought that because Granolah is a pretty stoic character, they thought that they needed another character for him to play off of, which I do think they made the right choice when it comes to that. But anyway, that was the inspiration for Oatmeal. Again, he doesn't talk about it here, but like I said, I did watch the interview, so I do know that. And they do go on to talk about how he's going to actually have a role to play, which I'm actually pretty kind of excited to find out exactly what it is, because I know a lot of people have been speculating about who exactly is Oatmeal. Is he just an AI? Is he another character? We don't know. It seems like I'm willing to bet it's actually another character who's speaking to Granolah through the goggles. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, this is interesting. So the additional lore about the Namekians about how they didn't actually originate from planet Namek. That was actually an addition by Toriyama. So it was not from Toyotaro. See, this is what I mean by the overall idea for the arc came from Toyotaro, but Toriyama added and refined some things. That's basically how this arc came to be. Like the additional lore of the Namekians came from Toriyama. He even goes on to say, I couldn't have made that big of a decision. That had to come from Toriyama, and I do understand that thought process because Toriyama is the one who created this world. And if you want to make this big addition of a to the overall lore of Dragon Ball, then yeah, I would understand how someone who works on the show would be a little bit hesitant to do that, and felt a little bit more comfortable knowing that okay, this came from the man himself, the one who created the story. So I can understand that. And then they go on to talk about Goku. Now this to me is interesting, also interesting as opposed to everything else. He goes on to say they go on to talk about Goku and how by the end of the Moro arc he basically became powerful, or kind of too powerful, and that was actually a worry that I had, because I thought that okay, so Goku has mastered Ultra Instinct now. Where exactly can he go moving forward? Because I mean, considering how strong he is, how can you realistically introduce a villain that can even compete with him? And then they go on to say how they added in the whole Whis has a more perfected version of Ultra Instinct, and the Grand Priest has an even more perfected version of Ultra Instinct than even Whis has. And they go on to say, so there's still room for Goku to grow. And I do feel like they kind of admitted that this was sort of a last minute addition, because yeah, they end up realizing okay, he is kind of strong, so we do kind of got to do something. We do have to give it. Because they even go on to say something like it's not really Dragon Ball if you don't have characters getting stronger, but how can you have Goku getting stronger now that he has Ultra Instinct? So they came up with a whole, there are better versions of Ultra Instinct, and they go on to talk about how there's characters like Whis, Beerus, Broly, and the Grand Priest. I'm actually when he mentioned this, I already knew that there's probably going to be a bunch of fans who are not going to be happy about that, because they think that Goku should be stronger than Beerus now. Well, it seems like they kind of did confirm that Beerus is still stronger than Goku, which I know a lot of people are not going to like that. Personally, I don't mind it at all. It's fine. It's whatever. Interesting how they mention Broly. So I honestly didn't think that we'd ever see him mentioned again, or at least not for a while. So it's nice that he gets a mention. Anyway, moving forward, they go on to talk about Vegeta, and they talk about how his development is going to take a different route to Goku's, and he goes on to talk about how the subtitles actually left out different by mistake. See, this is one thing that I do love about what Herms does on Twitter, and how he sort of takes what's said and gives us the translation, because the subtitles aren't perfect. They are going to get some things wrong, because it's kind of hard to almost accurately translate Japanese to English, because Japanese is a more difficult language to learn than English. So there are going to be some, what's the saying? Some things that get lost in translation. That's what I want to say. Then he goes on to say that Toyotaro scrolls out of answering who's stronger now. It would be too spoilery. Well, yeah, but personally, I think that he kind of maybe knows the fandom and thinks that there are probably fans who are not going to be happy once they have like an official confirmation as to who's stronger and all that stuff. But anyway, I just thought it was very, very interesting. And they go on to talk about the whole moment of, when they went to Zuno's planet, and how the main idea behind it is to basically add some levity into the situation. And they go on to talk about how Zuno's involvement also came from Toriyama, so that did not come from Toyotaro. It was Toriyama's idea to include Zuno, which I do think makes sense, since he is the one who also introduced the heaters. And the hero's goal and why they wanted to get 7-3 was because they wanted to know Zuno's location, because they believe that knowledge is power, which I do agree. And they believe that, the one who has the most knowledge is the one who ultimately holds the power in the universe. So, again, this does line up. It does make sense. So, and they go on to talk about how, again, just to clarify, the idea for the heater is from Toriyama, but Toyotaro is still the one who drew the characters. And he goes on to talk about something funny where how Toriyama kept rejecting the designs until eventually they landed on this one. Apparently, this is the one that Toriyama liked, and I have to say it does kind of make sense how they keep clarifying that Gas is the strongest one, and it does kind of make sense since he is the smallest, just like what he did with Frieza and how Frieza's final form kind of made him really, really small, but he's this incredibly powerful character that can destroy galaxies. So yeah, that does, I guess you could say, that does kind of line up with Toriyama and how he likes to design certain characters. Toriyama does prefer more simpler designs. I mean, remember, we're talking about a guy who said his motivation for getting rid of Goku's tail was because he got tired of drawing it. Either he got tired of drawing it, or it was difficult adding it in every time he drew Goku, which I do get that. I think he even, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said in an interview where the reason why the Super Saiyan's hair was left, was left completely blank was because he didn't have to ink it in. So yeah, that does line up with Toriyama. So he says, yes, Toyotaro designed all the important and complicated looking characters this arc, while Toriyama handled elderly Namekian number 285 and around cute aliens number 8673. Okay, so that's just a little joke on him. We're talking about how Toriyama came up with the easier to draw characters, whereas Toyotaro is the one who drew the bit more complex design for it. Which, I mean, it does make sense because Toriyama himself, like we said, he prefers the more simpler designs, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's not that Toriyama can't draw complicated characters. He can. Seriously, just look at the character design of Perfect Cell and then Imperfect Cell, or First Form Cell and then Second Form Cell. Those are not easy to draw. Hell, even Perfect Cell, even though his design is simpler, is still kind of a little bit complicated. So it's not that Toriyama can't do this. It's just that he prefers drawing these simpler designs. So that's just, I don't want anyone to get that confused. So yeah, he goes on to talk about how next week there's going to be the second part of the interview where he's going to show you how to draw Granolah. I'm actually looking forward to seeing this because who knows, maybe I want to try drawing him myself in my spare time. So kind of looking forward to that. So yeah, that's the interview. But like I said, if you want, you can go watch the whole interview for yourself. It's on the official Dragon Ball website. Herms, go to his Twitter account. He even links the official website right there to the interview if you want to go see it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to end this video right here. Let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section down below. Remember to like the video, share the video, subscribe if you haven't, ring the bell for notifications, and I hope I see you for the next video. Bye for now.